this motion. I urge the city manager to treat this as he has and continue to treat that with a public emergency, a safety and public health lens. And I will add, this is also affecting our most vulnerable road users, specifically those that rely on walking or bicycling or our wheelchair users to get around the city. My second part of the order relates to the fact that we expect our Department of Transportation and Mobility to do a lot. And in the short 2 years that they have been in existence, I think they have done quite a lot, both in moving policy as well as responding to the thousands of orders, the work of the Traffic and Parking Committee, the Mobility Action. And I can't say enough how appreciative I am of their work, but their work doesn't happen in vacuum. And all the things that as district councilors and councilors at large we want to accomplish cost money. Speed bumps cost money. The last authorization from this council was $250,000 for speed humps. While Boston may have added thousands of them, that requires that we increase the allocations from our budget to make sure that we're supporting the work. The purpose of my order asking for a report as to the financial allocations that it takes to actually do this work is twofold. One is to educate the public as to the amount of money that it takes to do all the transformative changes that are so necessary to support this work and preserve the lives and well-being of our residents. Two is to educate ourselves as to the advocacy that's needed, both at the state level, at the federal level, but most importantly, at budget time. So I'm hoping when that report comes back with the numbers, the work that's being done, and how much it would cost us to implement short-term and long-term measures, that we use that information to both manage expectations for our constituents and to make sure that we are supporting the work of this department along with the traffic division to the full extent financially that thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Bergman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll address both items as well. With respect to 10E, I was thinking long and hard about the implications of the declaration of public health emergency. And I recall when that was issued in the past, there was some discussion about whether or not that shifted the balance of any of the authority of this council when a public health emergency is declared. So this doesn't affect 10F, but with respect to 10E, I'm going to use my personal privilege to hold the edit, and I'd like to get information back from the city solicitor as to what the declaration of a public health and safety emergency, what's the impact of that when it comes to the authority that's delegated between the city manager and the city council. And second, on that issue, I was certainly on the council as many of my colleagues. I look around at Councilor Russell, Councilor King, Councilor Toomey, Councilor Carlson, Councilor Florio, and then Councilor Mayor Petty a number of years ago, when the issue came up about what can we do for the best practices in trying to address the issues on the roadway. And all of us collectively pursued at the time a rather original idea, which isn't so original, which was the speed hump. So I certainly, as my colleagues I just mentioned, have been part and parcel of trying to come up with ways to prevent injury and death. And all of our hearts have to go out to children that are killed, just like they go out to elderly people that are killed, and anybody in between. We don't want deaths in the city. I just question whether or not the city of Worcester making that declaration is in our best interest if what's happening in Worcester is no different than what's happening in every other major city, particularly in Massachusetts, which is these are issues that need to be addressed. And there are many ways to go about addressing them. And I'm not sure what impact the declaration of a public health and safety emergency has on changing any of that. We need to look at road design, we need to look at lighting, we need to look at police personnel that can monitor traffic, look at a whole host of many other things that go into making the city safer for everyone. And I would say that I do wish that under 10E, vulnerable road users would have also included motorists, because there's certainly been a fair share of motorists injured as well as pedestrians, bicyclists, people in the community. Everybody deserves to be protected. I look forward to getting the report back from the city solicitor with respect to 10E. With respect to 10F, I'm not going to address that because I think it's wise to start getting the information together, and we'll see what happens with 10E when we next meet. But I don't oppose 10F, but 10E I'll do a personal hold on that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor King.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Of course, I think we all express our condolences to the loss of life that has occurred. And, pray for as full of recovery as possible for the individual injured. That being said, I want to sign on to 10E, Mr. Chairman, in preparation for the next meeting in a month or over a month. And that's a significant amount of time. And while I understand and appreciate Councilor Bergman's request, I actually agree with getting a detailed report. I was going to simply ask, through the chairs of the administration, what is the understanding of what would a public health and safety declaration do in terms of funding, in terms of resources? What does it actually mean to the chair?
Would you like to give a written report on that?
I'd like a verbal response at the very least. If there's any inclination by the professionals that are here or our solicitor, anyone, I still would like to see the report that the council asked for, but I would like some sort of, this has been on the agenda for a few days, understanding of what a declaration of a public health and safety emergency would do in terms of resources, capacities, funding. Is that such a thing, through the chair?
Through the chair of the council, I know I'm going to ask to prepare a more detailed report.
Of course.
But in short, a local declaration by the city manager does not bring with it any extraordinary powers that are not our normal course. So there's no way to do extra funding. It's just to be clear, to bring awareness to it, and the manager to make directives to his administration.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So after the administration, is there a intergovernmental plan as it relates to pedestrian safety, vulnerable road user safety that we have in play? So we've been doing a lot of stuff on the city side, right, with protected bike lanes, pedestrian safety, etc. Has there been any outreach to, on the state level, the federal level, any communication, any thing as it relates to funding or resources to date, through the chair?
Through the chair to the council, the short answer is yes. There's a number of projects that we've started out, whether it's state or federal grants. Some of them we've been awarded, some of them we have not been awarded. Part of the Vision Zero plan and the mobility transportation plan as part of the master plan is to give us a framework of how to approach the street redesigns and the infrastructure of our city. And so these plans are going to help be the guide and the roadmap for us as a community, as a body, as an administration, and also as a council to understand how we're going to move forward in implementing and redesigning some of our roadways. And so these plans are coming into fruition. There's significant work happening right now around Vision Zero and also around the mobility transportation plan that will then be presented to council. There's been a lot of a community engagement process as part of those plans. And so when that comes forward, that would give us an understanding and recommendations of what funding do we need to seek, what partnerships we need to build so that we can be able to put these plans forward. But short of that, we are working with state and federal delegations when there are particular projects that we're seeking funding, whether it's through earmarks, dollars, or federal grant applications, and we're constantly working to try to offset some of the costs related to these projects.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. one of the things that the council has is the ability through municipal operations and legislative affairs, or whatever it's called now, MLO, is to have an understanding of intergovernmental relations, Mr. Chairman. And what I would request, and this isn't specific to this particular item, but I would request any of that engagement the administration does, that we get a quarterly report on. I know that it's my understanding that the city, as city councilors, we should be engaged in some of that work. I know the mayor is engaged in that work all the time. But I think it's important to keep us in the loop, right? So I know that there's grants and there's funding and there's, intergovernmental affairs that relates with entities like DOT or, other things. But this is more on sort of the interaction and engagement between the elected folks. Because you sit there and you wonder, as I think was referenced, it seems like this is a crisis in the city, as indicated by Councilor Haji, item 10E. It makes you wonder, where do we rank as a city? What resources does government really have for us? And if those communications have occurred, we as individual councils, as a government body, as the mayor, if we want to advocate or lobby, we can certainly do that individually. But if there's something already going on, perhaps we can support it, or vice versa, Mr. Chairman. So some sort of just quarterly report back to the council, formally that could go to committee, perhaps, and that could be taken up there if necessary, as it relates to legislative affairs, or budgetary issues or legislation that could potentially impact this issue and others. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, so,
Mr. Chair, the motion to suspend the rules, please.
hang on a second. Councilor Russell?
Mr. Chairman, when the report comes back that Councilor Bergman has asked for, I want to ask the law department if they could specifically address in that report if any of the purview of any of these issues comes away from the council, whether it be to the manager or whether it even be to the Board of Health. If we declare a public health safety emergency, if that would trigger something, because I remember a controversy a couple of years ago over another issue, where the Board of Health decided that they were going to get involved in some issues that some of us were surprised that they were involved with at the level where they were involved. So I asked the law department ahead of time. I'm not advocating that they should be or they shouldn't be or whatever. Just like to know if they what will happen at that point and have that included in the report. Mr. Chairman, in District 3, we've had our share of fatalities, pedestrian fatalities, issues, fatalities and events and issues that I know I've advocated for changes. I know Representative Donahue has advocated strongly for some changes. And where our fatalities have appeared more than not has been on state highways. And Mr. Chairman, through you to the manager, my question also is that when we're talking about speed limits and any kind of thing, Councilor Council had a great item on, we just got them talking about working with the Department of Transportation, the State Office of Transportation, and where are our limitations? I remember when there was a death on Route 20 at the Auburn line in Quincy Village, near the mobile home park. There was some effort made where we wanted to do things about moving the light, moving the crosswalks, and we were told, hey, it's a state highway. You can't tell the state it's something that has to come from them. We were able to put some street lights in and make it a brighter area to foster some more traffic safety, which was a good thing. But I'd just like to know in the form of the report when it comes back, just like where are the parameters here? Because, you know, when you look at it, I remember when we first started talking about the 25-mile-an-hour zone, I asked the staff member of the council office just to do some homework, maybe some other people on the council asked her to do the same kind of information at the time. But a lot of those fatalities were on state-numbered highways, whether it be Route 290, whether it be Route 20, whether it be roads like 122, et cetera. So I'd like to know, going forward, the rules that we're contemplating changing with speed limits for just one item, not on anything else. What are our limitations dealing with the state legal highways? You know, most of the streets, when you think about even like Grafton Street, Grafton Street's Route 122. Are we limited here, or is it a different street? If someone could answer it now, I'd be happy to listen to it.
Sure.
Thank you. Through the chair. So in Worcester, most of the state routes other than the interstates and Route 20 are actually under local jurisdiction. So we have full authority for the design and operation of those roadways, including Route 122. The exceptions, as I said, are the interstates, State Route 146, Route 20, and then some small sections of other roadways.
So like Route 9, as it is on Belmont Street, is within the city purview?
Through the chair, that's correct, except for the signal at the intersection of Lake Ave and Belmont Street.
So if the city wanted to put a speed bump or a speed limit or whatever they want to do on Route 9 or Route 122, some of these smaller state-labeled highways, we put it, have the right to do that. Put it in the
Through the chair, yes, that's correct. Within the parameters established by state and federal law, but yes, that's correct.
Okay, but again, the roads that are eliminated from that consideration are which one? 290, 190, 140, and what else?
Sorry, through the chair, 146.
146.
I believe you said Route 20, which is correct. There's a small portion of Route 12, and then a few isolated intersections near the interstates.
Mr. Chairman, is that list available someplace? I appreciate it if the commission could share that with us. Because when we're talking about these issues going forward, it's good to know what areas are excluded. I'd love to see that written communication. Doesn't have to be a report, but simple email would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Aguirre.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for recognizing me for the second time. Just a couple quick things to provide some clarification and education for the edification of council. When I use the term vulnerable road users, I'm pulling that from terminology from state law. So those, we talked about actually the poster that I held at the last meeting. Perhaps I'm happy to share that poster with Councilor Bergman. Those are folks that walk and bike. There are roadside workers, people using wheelchairs, scooters, skateboards, roller skates, and other micro-mobility devices, horse-drawn carriages, farm equipment. And for your information and council's information, that comes from an act to reduce traffic fatalities which passed in 2023. All I'm asking tonight is a symbolic gesture from the city manager to align the things that he has said publicly, along with the work of his department, that traffic violence is an issue in our city. The city of Boston adopted a resolution because of the reckless driving and speed driving, and they had multiple fatalities just like we have. I really don't understand the hesitation and all this anxiety around the city manager publicly saying we are in a state of emergency, public health emergency and safety for our residents. If you would like me to put it as a resolution, if that comforts your feelings, I'm more than happy to do that. I'm not asking for anything specific. I'm not asking for a declaration from the state or from the federal government. I'm simply asking the city manager to declare a symbolic gesture of calling what we are currently experiencing, the death of our kids and vulnerable road users on our streets, a public health and safety emergency. That is all I'm asking. And again, I heard the city solicitor say this doesn't come with anything other than a symbolic gesture that we can actually use as we educate our constituents on behaviors on the roads, which I know that all of us care as district councilors and as at-large city councilors. So if you'd like me to put that as a resolution to be adopted to make sure that you are 100% ensured that I'm not asking for a federal declaration of emergency, I'm happy to do that. I just don't understand the hesitation in putting more roadblocks to something that should be innate and should be done expeditiously by all of us.
Thank you. Councilor King?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to preface my comment by simply saying there was a reference made earlier that perhaps, I think they were referencing the Board of Public Health, that made a controversial declaration of public health some time ago. I just want to state that that declaration was that racism is a public health issue. That was a declaration. That's a fact. It was and it is. It is and it was. There's no controversy about that fact, Mr. Chairman. And the fact of the matter is, as it relates to this particular order, for me, this declaration makes sense. It's the council asking for a declaration, which means that we make this administration makes this a top priority. A top priority, as referenced by a number of folks. We've been dealing with this challenge as relates to vulnerable road users, pedestrian safety, and the like for quite some time. And when it hits district by district by district, it seems overwhelming, I think, to the general public and to us at times as elected officials. This declaration will lift up this issue, and I would expect and anticipate that would also not just be reflected in funding, but also in enhanced implementation of any measures to make things safer, Mr. Chairman. So again, I certainly also would like to see a report regarding the question that Councilor Bergman asked, but this is an easy one for me. We could do both, but to ask the city manager to set this aloft is appropriate, and I appreciate the order.
Thank you. So that E has been held. I'm going to send F to the city manager. I want to the request for reports. Roll call.
And my amendments, pardon, Mr. Chair.
What's that?
I made a motion for the public survey to be completed.
Okay.
And thank you very much.
Your report back on that too. Roll call.
I need that in the form of a motion, actually, not in form of a report.
Roll call.
Councilor Bergman?
Yes.
Gloria?
Yes.
Pierre?
Yes.
Councilor King?
Yes.
Councilor Carlson?
Yes.
Councilor Miyagi?
Yes.
Councilor Ada?
Yes.
Councilor Pasillo?
Yes.
Councilor Russell?
Yes.
Councilor Toomey?
Yes.
Mayor Payne?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Toomey?
on that, I just wanted to state that how grateful I am to Councilor Florio for the diligence that she had in having all those hearings. So it was a lot of work and a lot of effort, and she deserves credit for that.
Thank you. Okay, we are on G, requesting me to identify as soon as possible a funding source to provide a permanent solution for lighting issues currently in the field. Councilor King.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.